Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're joining us from, since we are convening here virtually from different parts of the world. My name is Evelyn Oyagi from Nairobi, Kenya, and I will be your moderator for this session where we'll be discussing how to leverage communities for business building. I am passionate about conversations and young women in business, and so this is very timely, and I'm looking forward to an amazing session with you. Here at LMF Life Skills Summit, we are excited to have you join us. So please connect, share your thoughts and questions, and get ready to get advice from our incredible guest speakers. LMF is on a mission to level up the confidence and careers of women professionally, globally, and the goal is to build confidence and careers of 25,000 women by 2025. This is why LMF is hosting this summit to introduce their new e-platform filled with masterclasses, mentoring, valuable resources, and community forums to level up your career. By joining this panel, we would like to offer you a free trial for 1 month, so make sure to sign up using the link in the comments. And without much further ado, I'd like to welcome my incredible guest speakers. We have Sarah Katusia, Stephanie Omol, and Sonia Barlow, who will also be joining us in this session. So, my dear guest, feel free to introduce yourself. We're going to start with Sarah. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to have a brief introduction about who you are, what you do, and how you're feeling about this session.
Hi, I'm Sarah Katusia. I am the MD for Group M for East and Central Africa. I'm very passionate about empowering young people, and that's why I actually accepted this request. As much as my day is, I'm having quite a messy, manic day. But I think it's, I believe it's very important to be able to share our journeys with other people, and especially with younger people, for them to learn, because I'm always very cognizant of people who shared their journeys or who spoke to me when I was younger and what I was able to learn from them. So I hope whoever is in the call today, as they listen, they can take something out that is useful. But I also feel like I feel the creating such a network is quite important, and just being able to have platforms where young people can learn with the without the pressure of leaving your house, just being able to sit and learn from people. So I quite like it, and the fact that it's also hosted on LinkedIn, where you find so many young people really trying to get information from you, asking questions. So good job also for the team that organizes the platform. So, and thank you. There's so many things I do, but you can check me out on LinkedIn and you'll be able to see my profile. I lead a media agency for WPP Scan Group. So my day job is really about supporting our agencies in doing strategy, interacting with media owners across sub-Saharan Africa to be able to deliver to our clients. Some of our clients are Coca-Cola, P&G, Airtel, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But I am very active on LinkedIn, so you can follow me and check my profile. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for that amazing introduction. I see you do quite a lot, and we are very honored to have you here with us and give us your nuggets of wisdom on this. Next, Stephanie, take it away.
Well, I'm Stephanie Omol, and I am currently the Events and Marketing Senior Associate at Ikigai Nairobi. Ikigai is a collective of co-working spaces that focus on your well-being, and pertinent to this conversation is the sense of community, because we realize that, building an environment where you feel supported and you feel like you can thrive is very important to just how you go about your day-to-day life. So in addition to beautiful workspaces such as the one I'm in currently, we offer meeting rooms, we offer event spaces, we offer a network of different communities, of different businesses and individuals for you to just grow and thrive your business. So my day-to-day is just ensuring that the team is well supported and, has the right tools to make such connections within the locations that we're in Lavington, Riverside, Westlands, and Lockerbetta. And I'm really happy to be here and just be part of the conversation to contribute to the conversation and also the skills that women can learn from this.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that amazing introduction. I really can't wait to see where our conversation, especially about Ikigai, goes into. And last, Sonia, tell the people who you are.
My name is Sonia Barlow. I'm the founder and CEO of LMF Network. I started LMF Network in 2018 as a brunch club. Nothing more, because I lacked community, I lacked confidence, and I didn't have the career conversations. And I realized I wanted to bring women around the table so that I could understand what I could be and also what I could become and what I could help others with, so I could lift them into the ladder. Community is super powerful for us. One, as individuals, to level ourselves up, to build our confidence. Two, to understand what careers are out there and just to know which areas we can access and where we need more help through, like sponsorship or mentorship or advocacy or allyship. And three, because now that we've actually created LMF Network into a business, which I think is insane, right? 2018 Brunch Club, 2020 we're a business. We have two parts to our business. So we have an inclusion consultancy, so we do end-to-end D&I delivery services across the world. And we have our community platform, which we've upskilled 30,000 people in 3 years and now launched our EdTech version, which is what you have the free trial for. And I think really simply, the fact that I'm sitting in London and you all are in Africa, in different parts of the world, and that we are interlinked through LinkedIn Live and or an online platform, and that we can build community from anywhere and everywhere, have similar challenges, but discuss scopes of how we can progress and lean on one another to move forward, I think is beautiful. And I have to say that I wouldn't be here without our community. I wouldn't be here without any community. So everything I've done to this point is for the community, by the community, and as a direct result of how the community has treated me and supported me and loved me. So it's really important for me to give back to the community and ensure that when we say community, we don't just mean you need 1,000 people. More than 2 people is a community, right? You need to form your own, you need to start your own, you can be your own tribe. I'm not saying we need more communities in the world. I think we need to leverage what we already have. But that is the point, is that we need to expose what communities already exist and see how we can help one another in that world of work. And obviously I'm jumping onto the panel. I'm also doing the tech checks in the background because we just want to make sure that we have a really healthy conversation. And that is life, you know, is enjoying community and learning from one another. So I just want to thank you all for kind of expressing your interest, giving up your time, investing in this conversation. I know how busy you are and it's a Friday everywhere around the world. And I just want to say that I'm super grateful.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for having us. And without much further ado, let's get started on the conversation. And I'm going to start with Sarah. I did a bit of research about your work, and I know you use insights to develop solutions that build brands. When it comes to communities and leveraging that for business growth, how can they use data from members to drive growth?
I think am I muted? Okay, I'm good. So one, I think when I saw your email and the issue about using community, it was really like the perfect time. Why? Because I'm just in the space of getting my teams to understand why online communities are important. Creating online communities are critical, not just for yourself as a person, but also for business. So for me, community is in 2 spaces, and I'll answer your question in 2 ways. One, I am very active in online communities of LinkedIn and Twitter as for work. The rest for me are personal, Facebook and Instagram, those are personal platforms, but I use LinkedIn and Twitter hugely to connect with people for 3 things. One, to expand my network in spaces of people who are in my industry, which is advertising and marketing. 2, to build my network beyond the people that I know and beyond the categories that I work in, right? So I'll meet someone who works in pharmaceutical, I'll meet someone who works in legal, I'll meet someone who works in something different. So it allows me to be able to have a network that is more diverse as opposed to just interacting with the people in my industry. And the third one is really for business. And for business, what I mean is I have gotten business from talking to people on Twitter. I have gotten a business from talking to people who have seen me posting on LinkedIn or Twitter. They reach out, they say, oh, I know you speak a lot about media. I'm looking to do this and this across Africa. Can you come and talk to us about it? And I think The first time I ever got a client to ask for something from LinkedIn, I was like, let's do it, but I don't know whether they're real or it's gonna come through. And when it came through, I was like, oh wow, that's important. So it has helped me in doing that. But business is not just about acquisition. It's also about being able to showcase what our business does. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, I talk a lot about data, about media, about innovation, about creativity, which is what Group M does. So I found it as using online communities to showcase what we do as a business, how we do it, and therefore even our own clients or people would be looking at working with us as a brand are willing to say, oh wow, if they do that, then I would like to work with that agency. But even to recruit. So sometimes as we speak about the things we do, we are also able to, to recruit through these platforms, but people are able to see what we do and they find that, oh, that company, if that's how they work, then I would like to work there, right? Because the other thing I speak a lot about is people. For me, I believe people are very important in a business. So I share a lot about how we treat our people, the initiatives we have for our people, and it allows people who don't work at Group M to see, is this a good place for me to work? Now, what kind of data, in this space where GDPR is the first thing that you think about when you think of data, even without collecting a lot of personal data, you can always, around your community, if you're a small business, for example, think through which people are in my community, who are they in terms of their likes and dislikes. When they interact with me as a business or as a person, what are they looking for? It could be a business that is a one-man, maybe you're a coach, or you write CVs. I've seen people write CVs on LinkedIn. Or it could be a business that has more than one person. You do have to ask us, people who are interacting with me, who are they? What caliber of people are finding my content interesting? I always say, if you find the caliber of people you are finding who are interacting with your brand are not the people you expect to interact with your brand, then it means you need to shape and strategize your content for your community, for you to attract the right community to your brand. And some of these things in the era of digital, in the back end, it's so easy to get insights, right? So if you're a LinkedIn community, you can always see people who have liked, who have come to your page, what those people were doing. You can always see people who have liked your page, who are searching for you. Where did they come from, the people who are searching for you? There's actually a lot you can get from the back end of the platforms you use to interact online. How are you using that information to connect with other people? Two, when and the other thing about data is you can use it for good, and then you can also learn to use it when something bad happens. Because the reality about online communities is something bad one day will happen, where you're being, you're either under pressure for something, or you end up, or your business did something that was not a good thing, or it did something and people understood it badly, right? And at that moment, you're using your community. If you're built a heavy community, actually, your community is what actually comes to your rescue. And I'm sure you've seen this happen a lot on Twitter, on LinkedIn, where a brand or a small business is being attacked for something that is not correct, or they're having a bad impression, but that was not the reality of what happened. And if you build a good community online, your community actually comes to your rescue, and your community will be able to say, for example, no, I know Ikigai do a good job. If that happened to you, maybe it's just a one-off, right? But then there are brands that if something happens to them online, even the community is like, yeah, this is how they operate. This is them. They're just a bad business. So for me, using the data you're getting to grow the community, the positive side of your community, and then to manage the negative things that can come from communities online. As long as we're interacting online, there's always going to be the positive piece and there's going to be the negative piece. And because it's really uncontrollable, I have focused a lot in trying to build a community that understand what we do as a Group M, what I do as Sarah. And therefore, if there's a negative story about Group M, I will know that the community will either ask questions to me to clarify, as opposed to just attacking without knowing what's going on. For young people, someone asked me the other day, how do you start doing LinkedIn? Like, how do you get all these people on LinkedIn? How do you engage? What do you decide what to talk about? For you to, for me, I have 4 things. 1, you have to decide this is the thing you want to do, and these are the platforms you're interested in, right? I prefer Twitter and LinkedIn. I like them for interacting with my communities. 2 is you have to agree what is the thing that you like talking about. You know, I could be in media, but I don't like talking about media. But there's something around media that I like talking about. So I talk a lot about people, I talk a lot data, creativity, and innovation. And if you follow me, you'll see those things coming to play a lot in my content. I also talk a lot about digital, especially influencer marketing. But you have to really find the thing you like talking about in your communities, especially online, and learn about that thing, read about it, have something to post. Sometimes I'll be in a meeting and someone says something, and I start writing notes on the things I'll post in the next session, right? And I actually will write notes of my next few posts on LinkedIn. So I'm very intentional about it. I believe that is very critical. The fourth piece is just be yourself, right? Do not try to be someone else. Do not try to create a persona that is not you, because one day then when you meet the people who love you in your community in real life, maybe a client or a partner, anything, you know, a business partner, then they're just like, I don't know, but that's not a Sarah. Like, that doesn't sound like that person that I know from the online platform. So just be yourself. And when you are yourself also, it means you have more to share because you're being authentic. So if you go to my Twitter, I'll also share about politics now and there, here and there. I'll share about things that I'm passionate about. You'll not find me sharing, for example, about, what don't I talk about? I don't know. I share a lot about flowers, decor, music, food. So I also share things because we are human beings, right? So you also have to ensure you're not feeling like a machine that just churns out all this content that has no, you know, we cannot connect with you because you don't feel like a human being. You feel like someone is tweeting on behalf of you all these data things, all this media stuff, all this technology stuff. Be yourself, own who you are, and just bring that person to the fore, and then learn and fail fast and fail forward.
I think I really love the points that you're giving, Sarah, and I really want to rope in, I don't want to pronounce the name wrong, Irakoze. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes to introduce yourself now that you've already started, and then I'll shoot a question directly to you, also because I know you and Sarah are leaving, I think, around 12:30, same time. So Take it away, tell us who you are, where you're tuning us from, and how you're feeling about this conversation.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for having me. I think I'm gonna stay 15 more than I had agreed because I was late. I had another meeting. My name is Trudy Kayal Irakoze. I'm an Afro-political feminist. I'm currently working for the Global Fund for Women, and I am joining you from Cotonou.
Thank you so much.
I tried to be brief.
Thank you. That was so brief. I was still waiting because I read about your work and what you do. Amazing, amazing stuff. So allow me to ask, communities call for service, and most time in business, people start businesses with the aim of making profit. So where does one draw the line when it comes to working with communities and leveraging that for business? Do we just go full blown and try to make money out of them, or where do we draw the line?
That's a very good question. And I think from someone who has worked in the private sector and then in the not-profit sector, I can say that people won't just give you their money like that. You know, money is a very serious transaction and money is a very serious conversation. And people who put money into something, there's always a story they are relating into it. It's never about, I have free money to give to you. It's always about whatever you are offering to give me is worth my money and it's also worth my time, you know? So for community to trust you with their money is always about what are you making them feel, you know? How are they interacting with your brand? How are they interacting with your product? How are they interacting with whatever you are offering? Is it personal to them?
would they make them feel good? I think we also underestimate how so many people want to just feel good about life, you know? They just want to feel okay that what they spend their money on is something that they're not going to regret on. So, of course, most people who get into business want to make money, you know, everybody wants. But I don't think you can build something that is consistent and something that community can rely on if money is the only motivation. You gotta meet people somewhere, and where you meet people is where their story are interacting with your stories. When I started doing the work that I do in terms of community building and community organizing in the nonprofit sector, I remember that it was more about making sure that the stories and the women that we are trying to build with would relate to me and I relate to them, you know, that our shared experience will bring us together so we can build something together. It was never about let's fundraise or let's build this to generate an income. Even that was something that we needed. It was first about how do we continue to build something even if things don't go the right way. Because let's be honest, sometimes things don't go your way. Sometimes you don't generate the revenues that you want. Sometimes you don't get the money that you expected out of that business. And if the simple motivation into getting into it was money, you're going to stop. But if you had a bigger goal, you know, if you wanted to create a lasting impact or just when you wanted to relate with your community, it will sustain you when the money isn't coming, you know, it will also sustain you to be consistent. There's a quote that I love from my favorite author that she said that forget about inspiration, habit is what is dependable, you know. And in building a business that involves community, it is habit that you rely on, you know, because there are things you won't even be inspired to work with your community because communities are hard, you know. They're your biggest supporters. They're also your biggest critics, you know. So there will be times where you don't want to deal with that particular community, but your existence depends on dealing with them. And the thing that will keep you going is habit. It's never expiration, but it's habit. It's a habit of working with that community. It's a habit of relying to the stories that you share that will get you going.
I love the answer. Coming from someone who's also trying to build a community here, as I sit moderating this, I know how difficult it is. And let me bring Stephanie into this real quick. So Stephanie, you enjoy nurturing impactful connections that drive brand visibility and growth. When it comes to tapping into the monetary side of communities, there has to be a connection. And Sonia just told us before she left this session that even two people is a community. So how can people go about building and nurturing these communities? Because as a community, you are brought about by one mission or an agenda. You become part of a tribe because there's something you subscribe to. So how can aspiring community builders nurture these connections?
Yeah, I think building on the previous point, if your community is built on something more than just if your community is built on a common goal, you have a higher likelihood of it succeeding. So for us at Ikigai, we realized that one, our community was vital to our success. We were here to serve people and we needed the people to buy into our idea. And for that, we were very clear in what our intention was on the type of community we were trying to build. And we wanted to attract the people who bought into our idea from all walks of life to come and experience what we have to offer. So beyond just workspace and just us being an office, we also focus on the well-being and the wellness aspect of everybody who walks in through our doors. So we're really trying to build a community of wholesome people, of people who get to experience life just beyond the 9 to 5, but then you get to, interact and form connections with people who you actually see yourself growing and also thriving with. And beyond it just being an intrinsic value for everybody to succeed, you just need a community in case you feel like you can't go on and you find inspiration and motivation from other people. It was also just good for us to know that, you're building this as a collective and it's not just one person, but it's everybody going towards the same goal. So yeah, for us, we were clear from the get-go and we were consistent in what our mission is. We consistently communicated that our workspaces were just more than just a workspace. We were not supposed to be ordinary. We were intentional about bringing the people who bought into our idea, but also in the sense that we were coming to develop them beyond just providing them with a desk and a chair. We were coming to develop them as a whole individual for mind, body, and soul.
I like what you've said. Being consistent and more than just a workspace. And Sarah, let me bring you in once again and ask, when an SME is trying to build a community, what are some of the, I don't know if using the word virtue or values, that they need to get right from the onset? Because it is hard work and it takes time. So what are some of the virtues or values they need to get right from the onset, as they be consistent in building this community?
First,
Sarah?
I don't think you can ever get, you can plan to get things right, but you have to be open to the fact that you might fail, and then as you know, and if something doesn't happen as you wanted it, then you keep on what you fixing, and especially in building communities, connecting with people is very, it's not always a one line, right? It's not a straight line. You can start, you can create what you think is what works for a community. You try it, but it doesn't work as you wanted it to work because the community does not take it, or maybe there's a different change in how people interact. Take, for example, Kenya. You could say one thing today and people feel this about it. And in 2 weeks, depending on the context of what is going on in your environment, you could say the same thing, and the feedback you get from your community is completely different. So for me, planning is around a few things. One is you are sure to have checked what your community is about in terms of behavior and insights, and you've put, and you've aligned your content or whatever you want to use to connect with them to what they would like, what their likes are. However, the other bit is being able to scan the environment around you and see what is happening in that space. Sometimes I see, you look at Twitter, for example, and there's maybe a very crazy conversation going around on something. And you discover this is not the day for me to put content around ABCD, because already in the environment, there's so much other things going. And as a small business, let's say you're a small business, you're in tech, and maybe you're in delivery, online delivery, for example. And you go online and you find today there's a border accident, so a motorbike accident by one of the delivery boys, and therefore the whole conversation at that moment is negative towards delivery, the bikes that do delivery. Is this the day then, as a delivery small business, you would put your content out around what you offer? No. Why? Because then the environment, it doesn't matter how good your content is, the environment dictates. And the reality is, social media is a good thing, and then it also gives another downside where you have to be so on point on what you're saying depending on what is happening at that moment in time. Look at TV and radio. When you just use some TV, radio, and newspaper, and you put something on radio, or you say something on radio, and you get feedback after maybe 2 months. Today, you're getting feedback immediately. And feedback is going to be based not just on your content, but on the environment and on the context of the environment. So as a small business, every day, one is your content. The other one that you have to always keep your hand on is, I need to have a hand on a pulse of what is going on around my community, so that whatever I'm giving them, it's useful at the context of what they're experiencing at that moment in time.
I like that. Especially what you've mentioned about scanning the environment and what is happening in real time. I think that's a very good insight. And Irakosa, maybe you can tell us. I follow you on Twitter and I know you do quite a lot. How did you manage to build trust among all these members? And how can one or someone turn the members to become super fans who end up being like the ambassadors? Like, what's the process like? Because you have a loyal following on Twitter, so I want to believe that even on ground, it's even massive. How did you go about building and nurturing trust among these members, and to the point they become like your ambassadors?
That's a very good question. And to be honest, I think I didn't realize how much the Twitter loyal following was loyal in person. When I will go to a random country and then I will meet someone and they'll be like, oh my God, it's you. So I think for me, one of the ways I built the community was authenticity. I always tell people it doesn't matter the number of followers that I have on Twitter. I've always been authentic. You know, I've never tweeted something that is not me. I've never shared an opinion that I don't stand with. And I'm always keen to changing the opinions if I evolve. Some of the followers that I may have known me like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and we've grown together, you know. So I would say authenticity. And I know social media is a very dangerous tool. Sometimes when you don't know who you are as a person, there is the need to assimilate because you want to create the same impact that someone else has created because you admire them. And that is a dangerous way to follow. As much as you admire someone who has created a certain impact, I will encourage you to follow your own authenticity if you want to have the same impact, because people always relate to realness. So I tried as much as possible. And I mean, I wouldn't say that what I tweeted when I had 1,000 followers is what I tweet now with 40,000 followers, but I would say that I try to be as authentic as I am, you know. I think another thing that has gave me the loyal following, as you say, is that I've always been someone who relate to their experiences. You know, in my scope of field, I work with women. I work around women's rights. I fund women's movement. And that is something that involves women's lived experience. So I tried as much as possible to be somebody who listens to the experience and someone who relates to those experiences. And I feel like social media can be a noise sometimes when we are not listening to one another. So I made it my mission to create a space where I can listen. It can be over my DMs, it can be when somebody tweets at me, but I will do as much as possible to acknowledge that I'm listening, you know, that their experiences are important to me and I'm also listening. I think another thing that I will also share maybe is that when I started being vocal on Twitter and using Twitter as a platform to create a community, I didn't know what I was doing. So I wasn't sure what I was doing. It's when I get into it that I learned some of the things, you know. So just to say that sometimes you just gotta do something, you know. You don't wait for pieces to come together to get going. So I started, you know, tweeting about what was happening in the community. I started tweeting about some of the changes that we would like to see. And I remember some of the tweets that got a lot of attention were tweets where I was tagging president on the statistic of women's experiences in their countries. That's something I did not sit and think of. It was just a random thought. I was like, oh, maybe today I can, you know, tag Uhuru and say, Uhuru, what is this statistic about this woman dying in Kenya? What's happening? Or maybe I'll say, today I can, you know, tag the president of Rwanda, tag the president of Tanzania. That's how I started. I did not plan about it. It just came randomly. So I think that's the authenticity. Sometimes things come as you do the work, and you have to be open to trying new things. Lastly, what I would say is that don't let it get into your head, because sometimes things like that get into our head. Don't let it get into your head. Do not let it get to your head. As much as I would call, you know, people will say I have a loyal following because they have shown up for me many times, I don't let it get into my head, because people are people. You know, today they may be on my side, tomorrow they may not be on my side. So I make sure that I have a strong support system that isn't just a fan base, but also people that I have shared a lot of laughter and cries and pain that I can carry on different stages of my life, I would say. Yeah.
I love what you've said. People are people. Today they might be with you, tomorrow they're against you. And Stephanie, let me ask. I think anyone who's in Nairobi knows Ikigai. I don't know, maybe anyone who's in the workspace, they know or have heard of Ikigai. And what can you say has contributed to this immense growth in your community? Has word of mouth played a role in it in terms of helping you guys grow to the level with which you have at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. But beyond word of mouth is the people who we've interacted with. So part of that was, like I mentioned before, being really clear about our intention, about why we wanted to build a community in the first place, what goals we had for our community, and what experience we wanted them to feel whenever they interacted with any members of our team. And from there, we kind of just, you know, like she's my colleague on the panel said, you just make it a habit, you make it a habit and something that's replicable, that you consistently offering the same experience, and that's how you get people to trust you and buy into what you're trying to achieve as a community. And once you're sure that they've trusted you and it's something that's consistent that they can rely on you on, people are a bit more confident actually speaking to other people about it, because if you're guaranteed that this is the service that you'll get in, day out, you're more likely to be like, oh, okay, I have a friend who's looking for XYZ, and as such, I'll refer them to Ikigai because I know this friend of mine, I definitely, by the time I'm making a recommendation, want to make a good impression. And I've trusted this place because they've shown me that they're consistent in what their word is. And that's why I feel more likely to recommend it to someone else. So yeah, as much as word of mouth has played a big part in growing our business into the 4 locations that we are in today, part of that was also instilling that habit into our team and making sure that it's consistent from the foundation, and then we build up, including everybody on the journey as we go.
And I want to build up on that and bring both of you into this conversation about today's theme is the future of work. And being an influencer is part of an emerging job that we're currently seeing the trend in an upward rise. And Irakoze, can you say influencers play a role in building communities and helping businesses? For example, can a business use an influencer to leverage on that to increase their following, or does it depend with what the business is looking for?
I think I would say both. I think influencers are key needed in the community, especially from business that don't have an actual direct action to the community. And unfortunately, most business don't, because most business do not, at the end of the day, go back to the community and receive feedback here and there. I feel like for the past 10 years, with the era of social media, businesses have started listening, because now you get a bad service, you go on Twitter, you tweet at them, and then boom, a whole lot of people, they will see it, the business is jeopardized. And if that person happened to have a lot of followers, it's way more dangerous, And we've seen some businesses that have used influencers to do brand up, trying to moderate the brand damage that they have caused, trying to bring in influencers to create another narrative on what was happening. So just to bring in that, influencers can be, that like a bridge that connects businesses and the communities. But businesses also have to be careful with the type of influencing they want to ally themselves with, because if we associate a type of influencing with the business and they switch, people will be like, what's going on? We were expecting Vodacom to always influence us to music and festival. Now they just want to distribute papers. What is this? So as a business, you always have to make sure that people have not labeled you. You have to be as more creative as you have to be. And that is the future of the work. It's more creativity. And I feel like it's getting challenging to businesses, because we used to have more traditional businesses that will have a 30-year operating way and they'll be okay with it. But with the internet, with where we are now, there's a need to be as creative as you can, because if you stay behind, more other ways of interacting with customers are happening. I mean, we exist in an era where you can order food from your phone. Come on. So you have to be as creative as you can to make sure that you stay relevant on the market. And it's influencers that can help you to be as creative as possible. So yeah, I will say that, but I also encourage business to not allow themselves to be given an identity. And for me, that is something I fight with as a person as well, who is in the public eye, to not just be reduced to one identity. Because if I'm reduced to someone who can do only A thing, when I want to do B, it will be difficult for people to trust me for B, because they have just reduced me to A. But if I can keep people open that I can do A and many other things, then if I try to do B, C, D, they will give me that benefit of a doubt, because I did not limit myself to one certain thing. And that is the same thing that business have to constantly do. And that's what influencers can help them do. And also, I mean, businesses being more open to new ideas. Yeah.
Wow. I love the points that are coming in. And Stephanie, as Ikigai, at any point in your business, did you guys ever take advantage of influencers we have currently to help you build your community?
No, we did consider it, but I think to just build on Erako's point previously about authenticity and making sure that, you know, anyone you're bringing on board is aligned with your vision, just because it's important to clearly communicate. We thought going about that process requires a lot of thought and a lot of careful selection. It is something that we are considering because, like she said, creativity is very important, and you need to find different touch points on how to reach the different stakeholders in your community. But I think important in the sense that you also need to find the right person to carry your message. If you're just picking anybody to carry your message, sometimes it gets diluted, it gets convoluted, and it ends up being something else completely and not necessarily what you intended, especially in the age of being online and you're getting feedback instantaneously. I think you really have to be careful and craft your message in a way that is truly showing the authentic self and the ethos behind your brand. So for us, at the moment, we are still in the process of finding somebody who really exemplifies and embodies Ikigai as we see it. And yeah, it's possibly something that we'll take on in the future, but not at the moment.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we would love to have the conversation going and going for more hours than this, but unfortunately, it's about time we wrap this up. Therefore, I want to thank you guys. Any final thought, Stephanie and Irakoze? Any final statement? Maybe 20 seconds max. Any final statements?
Stephanie, do you want to start?
Oh gosh. I think my parting shot would be to just say that if your business is very people centric, really focus on the needs of your people and understanding that, you know, if you're people led, everything else just falls into place, because if you put their needs first, they will tell you what they need and will actually trust you more, and that will help you grow. So one, be people led and bring them along for the journey, because that's truly where you find success in building a community.
Adding
Thank
to
you so
Stephanie,
much.
I will say do not get comfortable.
Mm.
Try to be as creative as possible. Adapt to the needs of what's happening in the community and listen to what's happening in the community. Do not try to be somebody who has a traditional path, but try to always innovate and try new things. But
Okay.
do it safely. Yeah.
No worries. I really want to thank you. And with these final thoughts, we end our session of how to leverage on community building for business growth. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you so much, Sarah, who left the conversation. And thank you so much, Irakoze,